All right, how's it going, folks? Welcome back here to a Friday night. It is 9:42 p.m. local time here in California. August 10th, October 10th, 2025. I caught myself. August 10th. Going back in time here already. No, I don't think so. We're working towards the end of the year. I can't believe it's going to be 2026 here coming up soon. Only a couple more months. All right, latest activity here shows a 3.4 earthquake up here around Turkey. Still got a big swarm going on there. A lot of movement happening here today around the globe, as noted. I mean, it is one of the more busier days I've seen in a very long time here. Not so much up the West Coast yet. I do think we're going to be seeing some larger movement here, just a matter of time. Before we get into the current activity, I want to show you guys this map right here. That's a lot of earthquake activity. I pulled up 5.0 and above since January 1st of this year. And the reason why I did that, so I could do a little bit of simple math and come up with some numbers for you out here, okay? I want to show you guys, ever since, these large events kicked up, it stirred up the numbers quite a bit. So I want you to look at this map, this graph here. We should see at least one 8.0 every year, right? We've had one. That's going to be the Kamchatka, Russia area back in July. Should see about 15 7.0 earthquakes on any given year. This is just the average. So far, including the 7.4 today down in the Drake's Passage area, that brings us up to a total tally of 13 7.0 earthquakes. That's getting close, right? Almost, we're just right on cue, so to speak. So I wouldn't doubt if we have a couple more sevens before the year ends. There should be 130 6.0 to 6.9. We are at 102 for 6.0 to 6.9. So a little bit behind on that. 5.0 to 5.9, I did count that. Took me a little while. But all I had to do was subtract the larger quakes, and I come up with the number. We should see 1,300 5.0 to 5.9 earthquakes around the planet on any given year. We are at 1,601. So we're way above the magnitude 5.0 level. But that also has to do with the number of aftershocks out here, right? Because of some of these large events. And it's definitely been a busy day out here today, let me tell you. Look at this earthquake down here that struck. That was a 7.6. Okay. I don't know why I said 7.4. What was I thinking here? That was the Philippines earthquake last night, right? It's hard to keep track of all the quake activity going on out here. It's just been a busy day out here. So there's that 7.6. Originally, I came in as a 7.8. That's right. A bunch of fours and some fives in there as well. This is definitely stirring up out here. Watching this closely because, a couple months back we had a 7, I believe it's a 7.2 or 7.3, a little bit smaller than today's event, roughly in the same area. And it's off in a weird zone here, in between any fracture boundaries. Note the fracture boundaries here that extend to the east, and also maybe one over here. It's literally just underneath this area. I don't see any fracture boundaries. I don't know if there's any seamounts underneath here, but this is an odd area to see large earthquake activity away from any plate boundary, away from any fracture zone. So I'm watching this closely. Not for sure exactly where it's leading to. It's definitely interesting, though, nonetheless. Over there in the Philippines, let's take a look at their aftershock activity. Been quite a bit. I know they're not showing all the quakes there on the USGS map, and really not even going to see all those either here on the globe. This is just a fraction of what's going on there, but it's in the hundreds in terms of the earthquake activity out there as far as aftershock movement goes. Looking back here, the largest event, of course, this is past 24-hour period, right? So that doesn't include the larger event that struck there yesterday around 7 o'clock or so for that 7.4, a decent size event. So 6.7 right now is the largest aftershock. A number of fives in there as well. Definitely a lot of shaking going on out there across the area. Right now, let's see, we got a bunch of fives and fours. Watching this closely here, because if this continues in terms of the multitude and magnitude counts out here, say it increases, then it could be likely that we'll see something, if not similar to the main magnitude or maybe even larger, because the Philippine Trench here can definitely produce 8.0 earthquakes. Okay, just remember that. Some newer quake activity, it looks like, up here, fairly recent. In fact, it's the most recent in this area, 4.8, super deep into the Izu Trench, 269 miles deep there. That is going to apply further stress there across this zone known as the Nankai Trough. I've been talking about that a lot. It's a major subduction zone that the Japanese government put out a megaquake warning for last year because of all the swarms that are happening around it, and also because of the amount of time that has passed since a big earthquake struck on it. So I can only assume now, with all the movement happening around the Pacific Plate, this deeper quake definitely adding strain up there across that Nankai Trough zone. I don't see any subsequent adjustment yet, but again, this earthquake there, the deep quake, struck fairly recent. Keep an eye there on the Nankai Trough. This northwestern corner of the Filipino Plate is looking awfully quiet. We are getting some further movement north here with another 5-pointer up in the Kamchatka area. Some 4-point, it looks like a 3-pointer there around Japan. But for some reason, it's skipping this area right here. This may be where we'll see our next big earthquake. Got to watch that closely there. It just kind of makes sense there with all the movement happening around it. Some further activity well inland into China, it looks like. Let's see what we got here with this quake. That's a 5.2, fairly recent as well this evening. Looks like there was some previous earthquake activity from this morning. Just a whole lot going on out here, folks. Let me tell you, man. Also that 6-pointer. Oh, that's a 5-pointer down there in the Bismarck Sea. That's fairly, that's from last night. You remember there was a 6-pointer down here that stirred up following the 7.4 up here in the Philippines. It was literally just minutes later. There's that 6.3, but this area has been rocking and rolling as well with a bunch of earthquakes. As far as the region back here across the area of New Zealand, some 3s and I'm sure some smaller quake activity. Really not a whole lot of notable adjustment going on back here yet, but it's possible we could fill things in here. We got some renewed deep activity again here into the Tonga Trench. Previous to all this elevated activity that we're seeing around the Philippines and Papua New Guinea, we had a swarm of deep activity out here, so it looks like it may in fact reinforce the strain out here in this general pattern with this renewed deep activity. But also, keep an eye here on New Zealand. I don't see anything major going on there for now, but it's always an area that can pop at any minute, so to speak, in terms of larger activity. 1.3 up in Alaska. Nothing big going on there for now. Earlier today, we had an earthquake out on the Blanco fracture zone. That's going to be this. Actually, it's in the Gorda Ridges here. Oh, man. That's going to be a 3.0 about noontime here. They added this quake on like an hour or two after the fact that it took place, but this is an area of a spreading seafloor center. Most of the time when we see activity out here, it's upwelling of the magma from below, slowly, right, creating new oceanic crust, and that's how you get these ridges out here. It just continues to build, but also at the same time you get these stress patterns down here across the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. So we do have to watch that. I'm curious about the tremor counts here this evening. Let's go take a look. Nothing underneath Northern California yet. There's a little bit down here in southern Oregon, most of it up there north into the Vancouver Island ranges, with some working its way further up north than our normal pattern that we've seen here in the last week and a half or so. Still a decent number, 314 epicenters of slow slip events. This is not volcanic in nature. This is simply slip events that take place in the deeper areas of the Cascadia subduction zone, and it's adding strain back upstream here where the locked area sits there just offshore of the Cascadia. Up into the Pacific Northwest, a couple smaller earthquakes around Mount St. Helens, some outside of Mount Rainier. Mount Hood even had some earthquake activity as well. This is just a fraction of the events that are actually happening there. If I show you guys just real quick, Mount Hood there in Oregon, it's got a couple reported earthquakes, but if you go and check a seismograph station out here or two, you can see there's one decent one here this evening. A couple of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go back to previous date. These are the big earthquakes that have struck out here in the last 36 hours. You know, that's the most recent one here is going to be that big event down there in Drake's Passage. Show up nicely. But when these waves come in, it squashes the amplitudes here, so you can't really see these quakes all that well. But hidden there in the background a little bit are these little earthquakes, and they're popping up. There's numerous ones. Nothing being reported tonight there across Mount Hood, even though I just showed you guys a couple. Mount St. Helens there, we'll double check that as well. And they've been having a decent swarm. Small microquake activity, nothing big, but still earthquake activity nonetheless. A number of volcanoes. You see that? There's quite a few earthquakes in there. This is overblown. Can't really see it, but you know, there's at least 10 earthquakes here. Very small magnitudes. You go back to previous UTC time, there's all the big events again. And with the amplitude being squashed, those ones that I just showed you look a little bit smaller on this graph because of the amplitude adjustment to make up for these signals of the big waves there from the big earthquakes. So, you know, and they're only showing 2 earthquakes up here, and there was a lot more than that up there on the graph. But the point of it is there's a lot of microquake activity taking place. Nothing big for now. There's no major inflation going on. Here at the Hayward Fault, it got earthquake in the last hour, it looks like, maybe a couple of them. That's a fault system there. That's, man, another one that's overdue. The Hayward Fault. That's going to be making the news here eventually for a big earthquake. I mean, I don't know if it's going to continue much longer. There's so much at risk out here in terms of the amount of strain that's built up across the West Coast that it's I'm really surprised we haven't had anything big, and hopefully it just doesn't go all at once. You know, the plate boundary along with other fault systems out here, it'd be crazy, but it could possibly go that route because the Hayward Fault there, it's outside of its normal zone there in terms of reoccurrence interval for large earthquakes. We should have seen one by now. It's holding out. These could very well be foreshocks to a big earthquake overnight. You just never know. A couple smaller earthquakes here down the San Andreas Fault. Parkfield section holding on for now. That's another area that's overdue. Well, it's within its window of opportunity, so to speak, I should say. Every 20 to 22 years, it gets a 6.0 earthquake, and the last one was back in 2004. So here we are, you know, pretty close. Southern California down here looks super quiet for some reason. There's nothing above 2.5. All this adjustment going on, and there's not even any uptick. This is just very small microquake activity out here. Some of it off the southern branch here of the San Andreas Fault, but really a little unusual there. It's odd. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up here. Some outside of the area, but we will double check that. Just because I know swarms can happen at Yellowstone and they can get, you know, unnoticed. There's some of the waves there from that big 7-pointer down in the Drake's Passage area. Big old earthquake. But as far as local activity goes, there's really not a whole lot. Yellowstone's just quiet for now. Not a whole lot new to report out here across Texas or the New Madrid seismic zone. We covered those earlier this morning. Taking a look here at the rest of the world. Let's see here. I'm just kind of looking for any newer adjustment taking place. The newer quakes are going to be in the white rings. That's going to be the earthquake activity here in the Izu Trench. That's deep. It's raised off the globe, indicating a very deep earthquake. Watch the Nankai Trough. I know I keep saying that, but man, I don't know. I think we should see something on that soon with everything that's going on. So we do have newer activity around the Nankai Trough, Japan area. Deeper activity here once again, south of the Philippines into the, it's kind of hard to tell where it's at, but look at that super new deep earthquake here. That could spell trouble out here for further large movement. Bunch of newer quake activity around Papua New Guinea area as well. I just got to be on guard, folks. There's a lot going on out here right now. Big time adjustment going on. And as I said, it's been a little while since I've seen it this busy. All right, let's check out space weather activity. I just seen the sun get an eclipse there. It was just a little sliver there for a minute, and then it just disappeared. I believe that's the Earth getting in the way. It gets blacked out for a little time, and then it comes back again every 24 hours. There's the M flare activity there from a couple days ago. We're still way down into the B flare category, a B6.1 to be exact. Flare threat is about as low as you can get. There's not any major flare activity here in the forecast. There's a couple different sunspots here that are somewhat new to the Earth-facing side of the sun, but they are fairly weak looking. Everything else out here is just fading off into the sun, so to speak. Maybe, I think that's likely. G1 class storm coming up on the 12th and 13th. That coronal hole there that was facing us a couple days ago, it's now pointing away from us further to the western quadrant of this area of the sun. But that center disk coronal hole looks like that stirred up all this activity here recently. At least a lot of people think it's got the relationship between stirring things up here on the planet as far as earthquake activity goes. We'll definitely see some high-speed solar wind stream from us impacting the planet there and kicking up the auroras for tomorrow night, I believe. Well, maybe not tomorrow night. There's a little bit here. It looks a little spotty, but we'll have to see how much of an effect that high-speed solar wind stream has on the planet when it finally hits us here in the coming days. But the magnetic lines that shoot out from that coronal hole, I think they have more of an effect on the earthquake activity than the actual density of the high-speed solar wind stream, because that's not even here yet. But that coronal hole's been facing us there the last couple days, and look at all the earthquake activity we've had, just ramping up like crazy. So that's one for the books there. I wrote it down earlier that we had all this earthquake activity in relation with that coronal hole there facing us. All right, let's see here if there's anything else going on. Weather patterns. The west coast out here, we're getting some decent precipitation. Let me show you guys here what's going on here. Precipitation accumulation here. We'll put this into motion, and GFS is starting to agree as well that we're going to get some decent rain. My neck of the woods around Chico, looks like we could get maybe just over an inch and a half or so. Higher up in the Sierra Nevada mountains, the snow level is going to be around 5,000 feet, so we got an super early cold system here, bringing some snow out there to the Sierra Nevada mountains and up and around Shasta, maybe the Coast Range there as well. And that's a GFS model. If we check out the ECMWF model, these guys roughly probably about the same. What's weird now is that the GFS is more aggressive in terms of the accumulation there of precipitation for us than the ECMWF model is now. But I like it when they're both forecasting a decent amount of rain there for California, so I will take it. Dry out here across the desert southeast. That just doesn't sound right, does it? The desert south. No, it's not a desert. Absolutely beautiful down there. Trees everywhere. Eastern Texas, eastward, there's just so much greenery. But they do need the rain out there, that's for sure. Eventually, that will come about. Let's see what we got here for hurricane activity. Let's check out the wind out here. See what we have cooking out here across the area. A couple models ago, they were showing some type of tropical system coming in here to the Gulf and stirring things up. But right now, oh, there it is. See it? Just barely peeking down there. We'll have to watch that and see how much this rings true here. But I don't see anything near term in regards to tropical activity there across the Gulf or the eastern portion of the country. But the patterns are, I tell you what, they're definitely getting mixed up out here. So when is the east going to get some cooler weather? I guess we can look at that real quick. I don't want to disappoint myself because I want the cooler weather out here. You guys can have the heat all winter, or whoever's out there. I know I feel bad for saying that. But there's our low pressure right now, bringing the coolie. We're actually going to be down in the 40s tonight, so it's a little cool. That's well below average there for our nights tonight. And then a massive trough there, deep, very deep low pressure area slams into Northern California, spinning up moisture, I should say, and bringing us that rainfall amounts there up to about 1.5 inches or so in the Sacramento Valley. Troughing out there across the Northeast. Big time troughing there, center portion of the country as we head towards middle of next week. I don't see any massive troughing out across the eastern portion of the country. Maybe a little taste of fall across the Northeast here as we head towards the end of next week, but it doesn't last long. It looks like high pressure wants to build back in there. I'm sorry, but I'll take the cold weather out here and the rainy conditions while we have it. Eventually, we'll have a huge trough dip down here, but for now, you guys got some above average temperatures out there, and I guess enjoy it while you have it. All right, what else we got going on? Seismograph stations out there look pretty quiet for now. One earthquake there on the Anza station, nothing big, just a little spike. Just be on guard out here, folks. We got a lot going on. Again, we could get some large events here at any time, and I'm really surprised the West Coast has not moved with all this activity. There's actually 3 regions out here that are very quiet following all this large-scale activity. That's New Zealand. The Peru-Chile Trench, surprisingly, is super quiet. There's only a handful of smaller quake activity out there. That's a little odd. And then the West Coast up here, very quiet. So I guess we'll see what happens here overnight. I do have my earthquake app that comes on in the middle of the night if we have a big earthquake. So I'll definitely know about it. But other than that, folks, have a good night. We'll see you guys out here for the Saturday morning update. Made it here to the weekend. Have a good Friday night, folks. Take care and stay safe out there.